I grew up in a quiet part of Maine, in a small town called Parsonfield. It was the kind of place where nights were dark and peaceful, and you could hear the wind moving through the trees. There were no busy roads, no bright lights, and no reason to feel afraid. At least, that's how it used to be. Not far from my house, hidden deep beyond a narrow forest trail, there was a small lake connected to a thin river. You couldn't see it from the road, and no houses were nearby. It felt like a place the world had forgotten. That lake had been special to me since I was a kid. I loved fishing more than anything. I had been fishing there for years, and almost no one else ever came. That was part of why I loved it. It felt like my own secret spot. I even kept my kayak there instead of carrying it back and forth. I would leave it leaning against a large tree near the water, heavy enough that the wind couldn't move it. I always kept it covered so animals wouldn't crawl inside. Nothing bad had ever happened there, until that summer evening. The air was warm, and the sun was slowly dropping behind the trees. I had already been fishing for about an hour and caught a few trout, which I placed in a small cooler. I drifted quietly across the lake, enjoying how calm everything felt. The lake was too quiet. No birds, no insects, just water. As the sky grew darker, I decided it was time to head back. That's when I heard something coming from the edge of the lake. At first, I thought it was an animal. I turned my head toward the shore. That's when I saw him. A man was standing at the water's edge, holding a large barrel. He tilted it forward, pouring something into the lake. I couldn't understand why anyone would do that. My chest tightened. Seeing someone ruin this place made me angry. Without thinking, I shouted and asked him what he was doing. The man looked up at me. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I knew he saw me. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he ran. He didn't even stop the barrel from pouring. He just dropped it and disappeared into the forest. I stared at the water where the liquid spread. It looked dark, almost red. But the light was fading fast, and I couldn't be sure. A feeling of fear slowly crept into my body. I didn't feel safe anymore. I paddled back to my usual spot and pulled the kayak onto the shore. As I removed my fishing gear and started covering the kayak, I heard something behind me. A sharp snapping sound. I froze. The forest was completely still. I told myself it was probably an animal and forced myself to finish. I picked up my cooler and turned toward the trail. Before I walked away, I noticed the water near the shore moving. Not like waves, like something shifting slowly underneath. I didn't wait to find out what it was. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that dark liquid spreading through the lake. The next morning, I went back with my phone to take pictures and report what I saw. But when I arrived, everything looked normal. The water was clear. There was no barrel, no smell, no sign that anything had happened. I still reported it. A few days later, I returned to fishing. At first, things seemed normal. Then the fish stopped biting. The ones I did catch looked wrong. Their bodies were thin. Their eyes were cloudy. Some had strange marks on their skin. I stopped fishing there. About a week later, I walked near the river instead of the lake. That's when I saw something floating in the water. It was a dead deer. The water around it looked dark, and the smell made my stomach turn. Along the muddy riverbank, I noticed footprints. They were larger than normal human footprints, and they led straight into the water. After that, the dreams began. In my dreams, I stood in the river while dark water moved toward me. Something beneath the surface was watching. I woke up every time with my heart racing. A month later, curiosity pulled me back. The kayak was still leaning against the tree, but the cover was gone. I knew I had put it on. Slowly, I lifted the kayak and looked inside. It was filled with wet mud. The smell was strong, like metal. Then I heard breathing behind me. It wasn't mine. Something stepped out from the trees. It looked like a man, but wrong. Its skin was pale and tight. Its arms hung too low. Its eyes were empty and dark. It smelled like the river. It looked at me and spoke calmly. "You were not supposed to see." I ran. I left Parsonfield a week later. The lake was shut down months after that. Officials said the water was contaminated, but they never explained how. Even now, years later, I don't fish anymore. And sometimes, when I hear running water at night, I still think about that lake. And I wonder what was really poured into it. If this story gave you chills, make sure to subscribe to The Haunted Echo for more true horror stories that feel a little too real.